I love rereading, but I haven't been doing it in the past couple of years. And this year, I am giving myself the challenge of rereading a few books. Some of them because they have spin-off series that I want to read. And honestly, I have a terrible memory. So I have to reread it to be able to read the spin-off so that I know where I am in the series. Also, revisiting books that I have read previously and loved is going to be doing two things. First off, it's such a sentimental thing to go back into a world that you love, but also, do I still love those books? That is something that I want to answer. I just remember that there's another one that I didn't pick up and that I definitely want to reread because it is my favorite series and I haven't read the last one. So it's going to be, it's going to be a reread of the first one, of the first few, first five books, and then reading the sixth one. Should I just start? I think I should, and I'm gonna start with the one that I just picked up, and that is The Thief by Megan Wallen Turner. This book, I discovered it because of Reagan from Peruse Project here on BookTube, and I fell in love with this series, with the way of writing, with just the characters, everything. I haven't read the last book, however, so I'm going to be rereading the whole series. It is very fast read, also insanely addicting series, so I'm going to be rereading it and then going into the last one. Probably cry my eyes out because it's over. It's about a thief who thinks can steal anything. I'm not going to give you a lot. It is fantasy. It is insanely addicting. And the way that it is written, you do feel like you're being transported into this world. And plus, it doesn't have a map, but I drew a map. Did I not? I did. Yeah, I'm not going to show you because it's pathetic and I did it years and years ago. Maybe I can redo it. I will do a reading vlog of reading all of this and drawing the map properly. Because this one's on a post-it and it was like 7 years ago. So, not my best work. I can do better now, hopefully. I am giving myself a lot of work now. The next one, it's another series that I absolutely love and now has a spin-off. So I went to revisit the whole world. I remember very, very little about it. I remember the magic system and loving it. And some little details that I cannot place where they were. It's a good thing to have bad memory sometimes because you can just jump into it and it'll sound familiar, but it'll feel like a new book. That is A Darker Shade of Magic by Victoria Schwab. I love her. I love her writing and she has a spin-off for this series. So I'm going to be reading the 3 books in this series: A Darker Shade of Magic, the other one is A Gathering of Shadows, and A Conjuring of Light. It's been about, 4 years since I read this, so enough time has passed that I can just jump into it. I know it'll be, again, a fast and addicting fantasy. I love the magic system. I don't remember very much about this. I remember that I like the magic system and there is some sort of parallel universes or cities, and then the magic is intertwined in those, and depending on what universe/city, I think it's universe, you are in, you have more magic or less magic. And then there was one that was cut off from everyone else. It was very good, very excited to go back in, and I'm not sure where the spin-off is gonna go off, in what direction. I have no idea. I don't want to know. I just want to read and be surprised and probably dazzled by the fabulous characters. The next one is literary fiction, and it's one that I read a few years ago, and if you don't like heartbreak, like full-on heart-wrenching, very detailed heartbreak, don't read this. But it is Days of Abandonment by Elena Ferrante. I believe she's Italian. This book, I remember loving it, and it came into my life in a very difficult time, and I feel like it broke me a little bit, and I want to read it now that I feel a lot better because it is about abandonment and it is about a husband abandoning a wife and how she dealt with it and what she went through. And it is really heart-wrenching, the way everything is described and the way that everything went down, and it's just a lot. So fair warning on this one, but I'm really curious to see how I would view it now that I feel better. So that's the reason. Also, it's really short. I can get through that fast. The next one is one of my favorite books of all time, and I haven't reread it in possibly about 5 or 6 years, but I always say it's one of my favorite books, and I want to reread it to see if that's actually the case, and if it is, I'm going to enjoy it a lot. but I am curious to see if it's still one of my favorites. And that is We Have Always Lived in the Castle by Shirley Jackson. I adore this book. This is one of my favorites of all time, but I haven't read it in so long and I want to see if it still holds up. Really short. Probably I will read this around autumn? Oh no, the last time that I read it is November 2021. So it's been a few years. I do write the date when I've read and reread the books on the cover, and not on the cover, but on the inside. I can always pick it up and see when I read this. I write the month and the year. We Have Always Lived in the Castle. I want to see if it holds up. Also, I want to revisit it because it's just fantastic. The next one, it is another fantasy series because I have this tendency of starting to read a series and then not finishing it. So the last book on the series is always just left on the bookshelf. And it is the 5th season by N.K. Jemisin. I have read the first 2 books and adore them, but the third one, it's just there. It's living there and I haven't touched it. And I want to revisit it and reread it because again, it's been a few years since I read this. Oh, I don't have a date on this. This was pre-pandemic. It's been a while. It's been quite a while. I want to reread it, revisit it. I remember that it was a 3 point of view, but it was brilliantly done and you didn't feel disconnected at all. Because sometimes I feel like that's the case for me. When there's too many points of view, I can just never keep it straight. This one I did and I loved it. The first 2 books were fantastic. Cannot wait to finish the series. I have to finish series, even though it breaks my heart. I just have to. The next one is another one of my favorite books of all time. Now, this one, I read this in 2017 for the first time. Fell in love with it. Didn't read it again. And now I want to see if it holds up still as one of my favorite books. It is damaged because I spilled coffee all over it. And it is Weir by Andrew Kaufman. Has always been one of my favorite books that I feel so protective about. Same as with The Thief. And We Have Always Lived in the Castle. I don't know what it is, but when a book is my favorite, I just feel very protective of it. And I speak very little of them and just because I don't want to hear anything bad about them. But sometimes I feel like you have to. If there's any, which I haven't heard any. I don't want to hear it either. It is about a peculiar family. Let's just leave it like that. It's a weird book with a weird family. I'm seriously hoping I still love it. It would break my heart. But it's covered in coffee. I might need to buy a new copy. But I can never really... And I wrote this in the back of this. And I remember that when I read this, I was in the train on my way to class, to German class, while I was living in Germany. It's extra special, which is when the whole coffee spillage happened in the train. The next one is a collection of short stories, but they are sci-fi. And I remember really enjoying it, and I feel like it's going to be a great book to revisit, but also just keep it in my bag for commuting. And it is Children of the New World, short stories, sci-fi. I remember them being really, not realistic, because it is sci-fi, but something that you could see happening. That is what I remember, so I'm curious to see, because it's been quite a few years, so I just want to know, I don't know, holds up, doesn't hold up. Great book to just keep around in my bag. Oh no. What? Sorry, my friends are texting and something's happening. Oh, okay. I need to film this fast. Let's get into the last 2 ones. The first one is a series that I read quite a few years ago, again, pre-pandemic, and I want to revisit it because it was one of my favorites. And the next one is actually a series of, is it 5 books? I believe it's 5 books. And I have read the first 3, but never finished the last 2. So that is going to be something that I tackled. Now that series is massive. So I'm going to start with the one that I've already read. Kind of want to buy a new copy because this one is signed. So just in case, I don't want anything to happen to this one. So I might buy a second copy of this just to read it and not be paranoid that something's going to happen to this. It is Misbourne, the Misbourne trilogy by Brandon Sanderson. Love Brandon Sanderson. Would reread his stuff forever and never get bored. I want to revisit this world. I want to revisit the series and his writing. Pretty self-explanatory. And yes, it is signed. I have no idea how I managed that, but it is very cool and I want to buy another one just so that, I don't know, this one's already not in great shape. And the last one, like I said, I've read the first 3. I need to finish the last 2 books. And it is a massive series, so this is a huge undertaking. But I remember enjoying it so much. And it is the Black Prism, which is, Lightbringer series. So this is the first one by Brent Weeks. First one, Black Prism, and then there's a few. The series is massive. However, I enjoyed the first three so much when I read them pre-pandemic, a lifetime ago. So I need to go back into it. I need to finish the series. Yeah, no, I have to. It's been staring at me for so long. I'm gonna be really sad when it's done, but I need to know what happens. Like, I need to tackle it so that it stops staring at me and judging me for not finishing it. More of me judging myself, but yeah. So those are the books that I'm going to be rereading this year, 2025. I'm very excited. Very excited to be back and making video content and everything. If there are any of these books and series that you want me to do a reading vlog for, let me know, because I've been really enjoying filming reading vlogs recently, so let me know down below. If you have made it to this point in the video, leave me a yellow heart. If you don't want to comment anything, just leave me that little heart, and that's it. That's it. And I will see you next time. I'm gonna see what happened with my friends now. What the hell?